Hey there, everybody, and welcome to You've Got Some Nervous System. I'm Raun K. Kaufman, and today's episode is Are You in Alignment? Are you in alignment? No, not physical alignment, people. I'm talking about alignment with yourself. And your nervous system is going to tell you if you're not. Your nervous system is going to tell you if you're out of alignment. In fact, if you watched last week's episode, which is the 7 messages your nervous system is trying to tell you, specifically through any unhappy emotions like sadness or guilt or anger or fear, then if you watch that, you will remember that when those 7 messages, the number one message, meaning the most common message being sent through an unhappy emotion, not the only one, the most common one, is when there's internal tension or internal friction because you are out of alignment. Meaning, and here's what that means, there's something that you know to do that you believe would be good for you. And you are not doing it. Or certainly possibly the reverse, meaning there's something you are doing that you know is not good for you, right? So if either of those two things are happening, that is one important way, and I would argue one of the most common ways, where your nervous system will reflect that back to you through an unhappy emotion. All unhappy emotions are messages from your nervous system, right? You'll recall we talked about this last episode, last week. All unhappy emotions are messages from your nervous system, and that overarching message is there is something that's out of whack, and there is something that you would need to do or have or pay attention to get back in whack. And in whack's not in sync. Ultimately, to get back into alignment. That's what we're talking about. And you will, listen, there's lots of different ways that I help people and that my colleague Kate C. Wild helps people to be able to connect with their emotions, move through their emotions, deal with things like that. But sometimes the important thing is you just have to actually do something. It's not only about how you think about yourself and whether you tune in, all of that is very, very important. But sometimes you just have to do something. You have to do something differently. And that doing something is getting yourself into alignment by doing the thing that you know to do, that you feel like would be good for you, but you're not doing. Or like I said earlier, stop doing the thing that you feel like, oh, this isn't in alignment with me. And what kind of things are we talking about? We're talking about things you could do that would be out of alignment. I was working with a CEO of a tech company, and she, just to give you an example, and she was feeling a deep sense of fear and anxiety. And when we talked through it, what she realized was going on for her was there was a particular thing, had to do with connecting with venture capitalists, etc., that she knew was important to do, but she wasn't doing it, hadn't been doing it for the past few weeks. And that was where that internal tension was coming from. This could also apply to there's something that you want to say to someone, but you are not saying it. It's ultimately just a version of you want to turn left, but you're turning right. Right? And I want to really be clear here. This isn't a moral argument. Your nervous system doesn't make moral cases to you. Your nervous system isn't moral in that sense. It's not sending you messages that's saying hey, you're not doing the right thing. This isn't the right thing. It's not right and wronging you. It doesn't mean you can't have values of right and wrong, but I'm just saying that's not what your nervous system is doing when it's sending you messages. Your nervous system is only trying to help you. It's trying to help you survive. It's trying to help you thrive. That's the only thing it's trying to do. So these messages aren't saying things like, you really should say something to your mother because it's wrong of you to keep this from her. It's not saying that. It's not saying, hey, you really should stop smoking. It's wrong to smoke. Right? Or whatever. It's not saying that. It's talking about a conflict or contradiction that's inside of you, meaning you think that it's important to do this. You think it's important to stop smoking. You think it's important to talk to your mom. You think it's important to say something. You think it's important to take these actions as the CEO of your company. You think that that's important, and but you are acting in contradiction to that, right? So that's what it's notifying you that there's this push-pull inside of you. There's this internal tension or internal friction that is happening. It's notifying you that you're fundamentally out of alignment with yourself. That's what your nervous system is telling you. I mean, your nervous system has tons of different things it's telling you. It's sending you messages all the time. But that's what it's telling you in this case. In this case where you're feeling uneasy or unhappy, and it's because you're out of alignment. That's what it's reflecting that back to you. Hey, you're feeling like what's best for you is to turn left, but you're actually turning right. Does that make sense? So this is really important to check in with yourself about, right? Checking in with yourself, meaning start to become better acquainted with this message from your nervous system that's saying you're out of alignment, right? This is part of the larger skill of interoception, which we'll spend a whole episode on in the future. But it's part of this interoception piece. Interoception, if you're not aware, is the brain's ability to detect and decipher signals from the body, or another way of putting it, the mind's ability to detect and decipher signals from the nervous system. So this is a skill. It's not just a skill. It's a key sense. It's a sense like sight or hearing, but we often get very good over time at tuning out that sense, tuning out the information coming in. So we get worse and worse sometimes at interoception, and it's really important skill to build. Again, that's a deeper conversation for a different episode, but how it applies here is that tuning in to whether you're in or out of alignment is one small aspect of interoception. So you want to try to get better and just more practiced at this. When I say you want to, obviously you don't have to, it's up to you, but there's a lot of benefits that come with it when you start to, one of the biggest just quality of life benefits is that as you get better at tuning into whether you're in or out of alignment, the more you're able to do that and the more you're able to get into alignment, the less unhappy you're going to be, the fewer unhappy emotions you're going to feel, because not that it's bad to feel unhappy. All of our emotions are meant to be felt. So I'm not saying this, you're not going to eradicate unhappy emotions, but you're going to spend less of your time sort of having your nervous system be destabilized and dysregulated and then sending you that message through an unhappy emotion. That's sort of what I'm talking about. So that's the most immediate benefit to quality of life. There's going to be other benefits too. You're going to notice that you feel better about yourself, and maybe even in some instances more confident if you are being more in alignment more of the time. Now, this isn't about perfection. Doesn't mean you should make sure you're always perfectly in alignment. You never want to have a moment where you're out of alignment. It's not that. We're all human. You're going to be out of alignment sometimes. Definitely. But you could, if you practice this, be in alignment more of the time. Just kind of a no-lose situation, right? You can only win from that. So let's talk about this. So first of all, if you want to tune into whether you're in alignment, the first thing is don't try and shut down or avoid or get away from an unhappy emotion, right? This is probably the hardest step because most of us want to do this. We want to get away from any feelings of unhappiness. These feelings are actually, first of all, they're designed to be felt, not stamped out or avoided. So that's just because you're meant to receive this message from your nervous system. And if you don't do that, if you push away from it, your nervous system is only going to raise the volume of the message anyway. Right? So that's number one. But number two is that our emotions contain amazing information, right? We learned from last week's episode is there's actually 7 different pieces of information it could contain. But one of these pieces is you're out of alignment. So you want to start, instead of pushing away from an unhappy emotion, you want to tune into first I want to let myself feel it, and then I want to go, what's this telling me? Let me just sit with it for a bit and see if I can discern what it's telling me. Now, that might not be easy for you when you first start out. I totally get it. If you don't immediately know the message your emotion is sending you, don't sweat it. That's super normal, especially if you're out of practice with this. So part of getting back in practice is to allow yourself to feel any unhappy emotions and then sit with it for a little bit and see if you can sort of discern a message from it. If you don't right away, that's okay, but still keep practicing it, and you'll notice over time you get better at it. Just like anything you practice, right? You're going to get better and better at being able to perceive this, being able to perceive like, oh, I can see what my nervous system is telling me is off by this feeling of fear or frustration or guilt or whatever that I'm feeling. So, okay, so I'm trying it out. I'm starting to get better at it. I'm starting to notice, okay, I'm feeling some sort of tension inside me that's coming from, I feel like this is the thing to do. Action X is the thing to do, and I'm not doing it. Or I am doing something right now, but it's not really what I want to do. I'm like feeling something inside that's saying this isn't what I want. So remember, the contradiction can go either way. You're not doing something that you know to do, or you are doing something that you know not to do, right? Either one. So then, as you start to get more acquainted with that, this is the other difficult step, at least for a lot of people, which is then the key is to take a step to get back into alignment. That requires action. It can't just be through thinking or meditating or breathing or different. You actually have to take an action out in the world, right? It means saying something, saying the thing that you know to say but you haven't been saying, or making the phone call, or taking the action, or again, ceasing an action that you know inside not to do that isn't good for you. Actually doing that. Now, do people find that hard or tricky? Of course they do. They find it challenging. If it wasn't challenging to do, you would never be out of alignment, right? Because you would just do what was in alignment to you. You would do what you know to do and know is best for you. And that's how you live your life, right? You just live your life. That would be awesome, right? You'd be in alignment all the time. The fact that we're out of alignment is testament to the fact that it can feel really hard to do the thing that puts you in alignment, right? Why? Because we're concerned. We're worried about other people's reactions. We're worried about what we think it says about us. We're worried about just taking an action that feels risky to us. We are doing something that we are afraid to stop or don't feel like we could stop for our own reasons, right? There's lots of different reasons why we may be kind of avoiding doing the thing that would put us into alignment. But that's the only, and you don't have to, by the way, you don't ever have to be in alignment if you don't want to be, right? But if you want to be in alignment and then get all the internal benefits from that, and possibly external benefits out in the world too. You might get those benefits too. No guarantee, but you might. If you want that entails actually doing something different, actually taking an action. I know a lot of times in this world we live in, we kind of want the easy way out. I get that. Sometimes I want the easy way out too. But I would argue that being out of alignment is not the easy way out. Being out of alignment doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel good oftentimes in a chronic way. So it's like having some weight that's like always sitting on your back. It's just always there. And it can be very beneficial to take that weight off. So I would argue that it's not the easy way out to be out of alignment, that in some ways it's the easy way out to be in alignment. But I also understand and respect that taking the actual step to get into alignment can feel pretty darn hard, right? So that means you could, if you want to, practice it with something smaller. Like you don't have to start by saying, I'm going to take this huge, let's say, conversation that I've been afraid to have for 10 years. I'm going to have that conversation. That's the way I'm going to first step into alignment. Or I'm going to take this action that I've been really afraid of for a long time. Or I've been smoking or doing some habit for this amount of years, and I'm going to try stopping it right now. I would recommend, if you're not used to this, that you not do that as a first step or even a second step. Take your first or your second step by doing something that feels a little tricky, but relatively small in your life, but that would put you in alignment, right? So maybe it's something like, hey, you've been meaning to make this doctor's appointment because you've been having this pain somewhere in your body, and you've just let a couple of months go by and still not making the appointment. So that's a situation where, like, this is, this could be happening to you. You know that this would be helpful to you. You know this is right for you, but you're not doing it, right? And maybe there's a little fear involved in why you're not doing it, but it's not a giant decision, right? That would be a good one to start with. Okay, you know what? I'm going to see if this is what I'm out of alignment about, right? I'm just using this as an example. Okay, it turns out this is a small way I'm out of alignment of, like, I know what to do here is to call and make a doctor's appointment, and I'm just not doing it. Okay, so the first action is I'm going to just do that thing. That little call. Okay. Now I'm going to check in. I'm going to see how does that feel? I just made the call. I have a doctor's appointment now in 2 or 3 weeks. Great. That's coming up. I've done it already. How does that feel? Does it feel, do I feel relieved? Do I feel more at ease? Does my nervous system feel calmer? How do you feel? I know for me, I can just speak for myself, and for many, many, many people I've worked with over the decades. Right? I've been doing this for 30 years, working with people on mental and emotional health and challenges, and nervous system health, and even interpersonal communication. And I've also been working with people on ways to, actually, a perfect example. I'll just pause here, do a slight diversion here. Perfect example is we have a course, Kate C. Wild and I have a course that's coming up on October 3rd. And that's a Saturday. It's a live Zoom course, although if you miss it, if you register and you miss it, you can get a recording that you'll have 2 extra weeks to watch if you miss that. But you really want to come live, because that's where you'll get, you can ask questions and do activities that help you implement it. And this course, it's just a 1-day course. So it's not a big time suck. It's not very expensive. And it is called Emotional Self-Defense. Emotional Self-Defense, protecting your well-being in a world that manipulates, guilt trips, gaslights, and pushes your boundaries. So that would be an example of, it's a more communication-focused course, right, subject. And what's cool about it is it does this really helpful mix, where part of the course is a very practical, here's exactly, what to say to uphold a boundary when someone's pushing your boundary, as an example. Here's exactly what you can do here. That's part of it. And then another part of the course, though, is you're not going to be able to take any of those practical actions if inside of you, you're agitated, you have emotions you haven't dealt with, you haven't regulated your own nervous system first. So another part of the course is about the internal workings there, that how do you actually get clear on what you want, calm your nervous system, etc. All of that part, the internal part. And the reason I'm bringing this course up, number one, if you want information about it, it's not very expensive. Especially, it's not ever super expensive. The normal price is $150. But actually, this week, I put the link right in the description. You can just click the link and read more about it if you want. There's a whole page about it. And then if you decide you want to register and you do that this week, it's also going to be $70 off. $70 off, my people. Yeah. And that means it will only be $80 instead of $150, which is pretty snazzy. So if you want to do that, but even if you just want to click that link and just read about it, feel free to do that. But one of the reasons I'm bringing that up is that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. One of the ways that people get out of alignment, for instance, is they have a boundary that they either want to set but haven't, or they even sometimes have a boundary that they've already set, but then they fold on it when it was pushing. I just saw a YouTube video on this, and it was just a YouTube short, and it was showing these people are on this dating show, and this woman says, she's talking about red flags. She's asked about this. Here's my red flags, X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to get into the specifics of what her red flags were, but she has a specific red flag, and she says, one red flag is X, this particular thing. I don't want someone who has this type of political outlook. I think it was a political thing. And then the guy goes, well, I do kind of feel blah, 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 and proceeds to state the outlook that she said she doesn't want for herself, right? Again, I'm not talking about the merits of having this as a way of filtering who you're dating. We're not talking about that. I'm just talking about she stated this as a boundary, right? He then says, oh, well, I actually do kind of believe this thing that you say is your boundary. And then she, like, without a second hesitation, she goes, oh, well, I can live with that. That's okay, right? So she immediately capitulates and folds on her boundary, right? Again, I'm not faulting her. I'm not like, can you believe she did that? What an idiot. I'm saying this is what we all do, right? So that would be a really good example of immediately getting yourself out of alignment. You just said this thing was absolutely crucial, red flag, red line, not going to date someone with this. Then this person, and I will say, the person who she was talking to was a very physically good-looking person. He was a good-looking dude. And but she then immediately folds on the boundary. Now, probably what's going to happen, I don't know these people, right? But what's very likely going to happen now in this situation is she's just created an internal tension inside of herself. She's gotten herself out of alignment. And aside from however this relationship goes, that now this guy has a characteristic that she really doesn't like, putting that even aside, she's just going to feel out of alignment. And her nervous system is going to probably reflect that back to her in some form of anxiety or unhappiness, even before he does anything. Right? So this is a perfect example of this. This is why it is really important, ultimately, to be able to set and hold boundaries and do things like that, because it gives you the life that you want, but it also helps to keep you in alignment with your deeper values and what's important to you. So this is a really important subject. Start to practice this. See what it feels like. Try it with some small things and see how that feels for you. And I would love to hear in the comments what your experience after you listen to this, after you try it. I would love to hear in the comments, okay, what did you try in terms of getting yourself back into alignment, and what did that feel like? All right? Take care, everybody. See you next week.